Can we kick the show off and then go into the back rooms?
Well, it's more so like a possible topic we could talk about at some point. It's more of like do you guys know what a creepypasta is?
No, I've heard you say this.
I'm sorry, what?
But I don't know what a creepypasta is.
No.
So it's like a horror fanfic. People just they write them. It's basically like
actual pasta.
And somebody leaves a piece and then they continue on. Is that like that? Like where they?
No. So like creepypastas are just like these like creepy stories that people will write that may have some true like
elements.
Yeah, elements, but they're not always 100% true. Some of them, are pretty close to true, but some a little fictitious. But anyway, so they write these like these fictional novels, and they base things off of them, and then people take them and they expound on them. Like you said, they'll take them and they'll just expound on them, and they'll make spin-offs and things like that.
They start recording because we get a segue.
We're recording.
This.
We're recording.
We haven't started yet.
Interrupt your regularly scheduled program for a special news bulletin from our partners in the Twisted World.
We interrupt your regularly scheduled program for a special news bulletin from Twisted World.
Oh, welcome to the episode 25 of Twisted World.
Is it 25?
It is 25.
25.
Can you believe that?
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah. We're doing things a little different today. Aaron sucks, and so after 25 episodes, we realized that it's just no longer working.
Yeah, it's just time.
We actually are here to tell him that this is his last podcast, and that we are bringing in Elon Musk because he's a majority shareholder now in Twisted World. So
he's also a majority shareholder in Twisted World.
Yeah,
Incorporated.
Yeah,
nice.
Yeah,
nice.
We tried. Yeah, we tried to offer him a seat on the board, and he offered us $43 to buy us out, and majority of the stakeholders, meaning me and Cody, accepted.
Just $43 flat.
$43 flat. Yeah. I mean, it was close to the $43 billion that he offered Twitter, but we were good with the $43.
I countered the 43 offer, and I offered that he spit in my face, and I accepted. So he now owns Twisted World.
So you sold Twisted World to Elon Musk for some
spit in my face,
saliva coming from him into your face.
Absolutely.
It's got to be worth something.
Yeah, I guess.
In a couple of years, it'll really pay off.
What?
I'm so confused.
I'm trying to figure where that's coming from. Oh, man. You're like, hey, did you scrape it and put it into a Petri dish?
No. I consumed it fully.
Oh,
yeah.
That's wonderful. Yeah. Listen.
Speaking of people not liking Cody while listening to the podcast.
Yes.
This is why. This is right here. Yeah.
Yeah.
Listen,
he's gonna be at work and someone's gonna spit in his face and be like, "How do you like that?"
They're like, "Well, you're not Elon."
All of our lovely listeners out there, I'm sure by now you have figured out Cody. He is a Pandora's box. He's a conundrum,
and
we can't even figure him out. And we know him.
My mind is an enigma.
It is an enigma. Yes. Don't know what you're gonna get tomorrow. But what were you? So before we kick this off, you were saying again about the stories.
Yes, creepypastas.
So it's potential that there is some validity, and then of course,
I mean, they come from some half truths, and some don't. I mean, but
aren't the best stories told like that though? Like the best lies are told with a layer of truth, and so I think when you're talking about fictitious stuff, I think adding a layer of truth to it makes it the best. I mean, we talk about Amityville horror.
Yeah,
my God, I can't speak. Those types of things come from twisting a little bit of the truth in with a little bit of
Amityville horror is real, bro.
We'll talk about it all.
I think. Yeah. You're talking about Annabelle?
Yeah.
Listen, we're going to talk about that in another episode because the Warrens were the real deal Holyfield. I'm just saying. They were real.
All right.
So I'm curious. So where do these stories get posted?
4chan, Reddit.
Oh,
front page of the internet.
Reliable sources.
Yeah. I mean,
Anon will post them.
Nice. Have you read any of them?
Yeah, well, I know a couple. There's just so many though. But the interesting thing I was getting into was that the new big one right now that's kind of like all over TikTok and like people are making. There's YouTube videos now, and someone made a short film in like 2021 about this one called The Back Rooms.
The back room.
The back room.
Okay.
Yeah, the back room. And So like basically like the premise is that, and there's multiple different stories that are told, or it's at least expounded upon, about people giving their like testimony about like, oh yeah, I've been in a back room before. And what a back room is basically when you no clip, like much like in a video game, how you can no clip out of bounds in a map.
Right.
You would no clip out of reality. Like you did something, there was a glitch in reality.
We're talking about the simulation again? Or are we talking kind of just like
you can? I mean, you can think of it as either or, but just think of that concept of like you do something and then there's some sort of glitch that makes it so you no clip out of reality, and now you're in a similar universe,
extended plane.
Yeah, you're in a different kind of plane now.
Wait.
Like Stranger Things.
So these people are attesting to this happening.
Correct.
They're like, oh, I walked in this room and
correct.
Next thing you know, I'm in a different dimension.
I think the original post said something like, this intern was like on an elevator, and this person always would get on the elevator around the same time as them and then mess with them by like pushing all the buttons. But this time the intern pushed the buttons first and then stepped out on the first floor instead. But in doing so, when they bumped and they collided with each other, she felt something change and she felt out of body, essentially. And then now she tripped and she was now in another room. She was outside the elevator, and when she turned around, there was no more elevator. It was just a blank tan wall,
person
slightly moist.
Like oh. God, just some words. Like, I just don't even understand why he has to do that.
Yeah.
Listen.
That's the actual wording. I'm not making that up. That's I read it. Perfect. And that's the actual wording.
Fantastic.
It's a light tan, slightly moist wall.
Listen. So this woman writes this like it was 100% true.
Right. That's how it starts off. This is level 0.
And nobody's drug testing this woman? I'm just curious because this is
psychedelic. No, she's on something like
we don't know who this is. I think it's just anonymous.
I've never seen a moist wall in my life.
I don't know.
I'm intrigued.
But
I'm intrigued.
Yeah, I know.
Oh my gosh.
So but apparently like this is where this person finds themselves now is called their I guess everybody kind of calls it the first level, which is level 0. And there are multiple levels of these back rooms, right? And the deeper you go, the weirder things get.
How do people know these multiple levels?
Because of the
experiences?
Yes, because of the experiences.
So one told the other, and then they realize that there's levels of some sort.
Right. So
Gotcha.
I guess you'll have to read them, and we'll go into I don't want to make the whole podcast.
I love how this isn't even our topic for today.
I know, but it's so interesting.
No, it's cool.
Really it is. And I spent. I mean, you tell I have a lot of free time at work. But I spent some time like looking into this, and I was like, "This is super interesting." I love, like, I was just on there's a Wikipedia page, and I just read through the whole Wikipedia page, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is so deep! It goes so deep. Like, there's so many levels."
So we're gonna do the back door.
The back door.
That's the back doors.
The back doors.
The back door.
It's multiple,
right?
We're
gonna do this episode. The back doors.
It's starting to feel like a Dante's ring thing, right?
Right, kind of
got like the different layers.
It's kind of like that. That because the deeper it goes, it's more hellscape-ish. It's more like demonic,
creepy, and
super creepy.
Sounds just like
It's terrifying. I was reading it and I was like, "This is some weird stuff. People are messed up.
People are
jacked up.
Yeah.
Well, they're jacked up on something.
Yeah,
because I gotta see.
Yeah,
I think it's a good topic.
There's a whole short film. I think it's like an hour long. It's a short film. It shows you like it's like a basically like a potato cam. You know what I mean? It's a first person potato cam of someone going into no clipping into into a back room, and they show you and they take you through like what's happening and what's there, and it's so cool.
Is this on YouTube?
Yeah, it's on YouTube.
Okay, so we'll have to watch it. Come back and do another episode. So
super cool.
So potential the back doors coming soon.
I guess. So today's episode is on one of Aaron's favorites.
This is one of my favorites. I love this. Right. The one thing, it's funny because we're talking about these people and they're writing these scary stories and there's potential truth behind it, and whatever the case may be, and that's kind of sort of along the same lines of this story. Now, this is one of the greatest myths, or not. That's for everybody to determine. But one of the greatest myths, mysteries, legends that is out there is the city of Atlantis.
The Lost City.
The Lost City
of Atlantis.
Yes. So to kick off the city or Lost City of Atlantis story, it all dates back to Plato. Everybody knows Plato, right?
My boy.
Your boy Plato.
Yeah, he's the putty in like the jar that comes yellow and
Yes.
caps.
Yeah.
The kid has a bunch of
The
those.
lime green with the sparklies.
Yeah.
No, listen. Greek philosopher from 424 BC. All right. So this guy did everything from like notating the stars in the sky and just a lot of the advancements with the Greeks. Plato, there's a handful of these guys that are just super smart thinkers back in the day, right? So Plato believed that around 9600 BC, Atlantis sank. So he describes it as an island about the size of Libya and Asia Minor, which I guess is present-day Turkey. If you combine them, he says it's about that size.
A whole city? That big? Big as a country?
Atlantis. So Atlantis wasn't. So he believes an island, a very large island.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah. So
The wording is a little
The comparison
variation.
was Libya and Asia Minor. If you put them together, that's about how big he believed that island was.
Wow.
He went on to state that it was an advanced culture and that they were technologically advanced. He said he goes on in his writings about that they basically grew to power and started just becoming greedy and egotistical. And then, of course, he attributes their demise to the gods punishing them. So that's basically the where the story began. That's the backstory, the foundational piece to the city of Atlantis. Now we get into all the other potentially fun stuff that could or could not, prove that there is a city of Atlantis. One thing I saw that apparently, and this was last year, I think, this scientist, a couple of them, they found where a body had basically sunk and it was underneath, I want to say, like somewhere in the Mediterranean and had gone underneath Italy and France. Okay, so there's
like a body of what?
like an
person
island
or
an island.
okay.
Sorry,
body,
excuse me.
body of
Yeah,
land.
Body
Okay.
of land. They said it's about or would have been about the size of Greenland when it sank. So it went under. Now, of course, this isn't the city of Atlantis, but it's kind of a backup piece to show that it's very, very feasible that a large body of land could go under the water and be covered by other land and so on and so forth. So they found this like last year, and they're still checking it out. But here's this large body of land that exists under Italy and France.
How would you know it's a body of land? Because isn't technically everything land? It's just covered in water. It's still land. Right. So how would you determine that at one point in time that land was above water?
I'm sure these science guys have.
You should know.
Science.
Yes.
Science.
Probably wouldn't be sitting here doing this podcast if I had whatever degree they had.
You
probably the same way.
Yeah, you're right.
Probably the same way Plato knew that 500 years before he was born that there was an island and that it went underwater.
Yeah.
Right.
This is the same guy that did the allegory of the fire. Right?
Yeah, Plato.
Right.
Yeah.
The one where he talks about like the shadows from the fire, and what basically your view of what you see is what determines what your belief is.
Yeah.
So
listen, I'm sure these guys back there were drinking and doing Lord knows what, right? But he
was just trying to write a book series and it didn't take off. So
Plato?
Yeah, he just had the one book of Atlantis. He didn't have like a follow up. There was no sequel. His box office wasn't very good on the first one.
Right. Yeah. He's like, this is never going to make me
money.
You guys
talking about the movie Atlantis? The animated film?
I'm being
facetious about because that's actually a really good movie.
It is.
I really
but
like
I'm talking about Plato writing a book.
And it did have a sequel that sucked though.
You're talking about the cartoon, the anime, right?
Yeah.
Wait, the sequel sucked?
The sequel sucked.
That's what, the Return of Milo or something?
Yeah, Return of Milo. Sucked.
No good, huh?
No, it's terrible.
First one was solid though.
Oh, first amazing.
Well,
I think they should redo it in live action with real actors. It would be so cool.
I think it'd be great.
Right?
I guess my question to that is it's really no longer Lost City of Atlantis. Like with the sequel, you're like, well, we've been here before.
Like, yeah. Okay.
So, look, you're new. Milo, it's nice to meet you. That was great. Have you seen Atlantis? Oh, you live here.
Yeah.
Oh, right. Okay. What are we going to do for the next hour and a half?
I guess we got to fight some new bad guys, I guess.
Yes.
All right.
They should have done a spun-off, like a TV series. That would have gone a little better, but at least I think.
Yeah.
Maybe there wasn't a lot to run with. Anyway, we're getting off topic.
Yeah, no, Atlantis has been used, and we'll talk about that a little later, widely through Hollywood, video games, you name it. Atlantis has been around, and still to this day, there are quite a few people still trying to find it. This guy was out trying to find hidden bodies of land underwater, and he found some, though not Atlantis, at least not. There's no proof of technologically advanced society, right? The 2017, I think, another very similar body of land was found underneath New Zealand. That one did say that a lot of it was, so when they went in and they were scraping the sea floor and stuff, they see that there's this separation, right? So it's gone down and it's buried itself, but there's this separation, like between New Zealand, for instance, and this particular body of land. And that is how that they came across on this one. Again, I didn't go deeply into the one that was Greenland size, that was in, more in Europe. But this particular one, there's some details that are like, hey, we got down in there, submarines, the whole works, and there's this
This
gas.
rock is not New Zealand.
Right.
This rock.
Right.
Gotcha.
So, and then that kind of tails into, if Atlantis, hypothetically, somebody wrote this whole thing on Antarctica. Okay. At one point, Antarctica potentially was like mild climate, wasn't frozen, and it did not sit where it sits now, basically the South Pole, right? They believe that it shifted down when the Earth shifted, and they said, well, Atlantis could have been part of Antarctica. And then during the shift, it broke off, and now it's out in the ocean.
But doesn't it tie closely to like Greek mythology, right? Don't they tie in like the gods of Zeus and Hercules and all?
Why like earthquakes happen and all this stuff's happening. Yeah,
so
that's their
I know that's where
thought process behind it.
Yeah. I'm just trying to figure out how that would work when most of that happens in the Mediterranean area. How would it work with it being attached to it?
So if you Google where Antarctica was 12,000 years ago or whatever, you'll see what scientists believe was you'll see a shift map where it was up actually closer to the equator, and then when the Earth shifted, things broke off and it went down and it sat. So again, I'm not some geologist or anything along those lines. So
we should move Antarctica.
Right?
We should move it back.
So you know what's funny about Antarctica? So here's what's crazy. So let's just hypothetically say that Atlantis was part of Antarctica. It chipped off, boom, right? Do you know Antarctica is one of the top parts of the world where scientists from all over the world go and meet? So maybe there's some high-tech, highly secret technology that
it got moved. It got moved. That's where the kaijus are.
That's yes.
It doesn't just move on its own, That's how land goes underwater. Is the kaijus. That's where they come out of. Right. If anybody's seen Pacific Rim, that's how it works, guys.
Yes.
Yeah.
There it is. We solved the whole thing. The kaijus are living in Atlantis.
Close the book.
There it is.
Yeah. Kaijus.
Thanks for tuning in, everybody. We'll catch you next week.
It was fun. Good times. Atlantis is real, and the kaijus live there. So, yeah, we're good.
But back to my theory about moving Antarctica. I think we should push it. Like, everybody just get on one side, and we'll push it back up to the equator so that it'll melt, and we'll have more land to make a new country.
Antarctica is huge, right?
Yeah.
Isn't like the
Massive.
actual landmass is massive.
Massive.
It says
We'll get a lot of people to push it.
So it was apparently like 200 million years ago. They have it up with South America attaching to it on the west side, and Australia attaching to it on the right or the east side. Above that would be Africa and India.
Mm-hmm.
So it never makes it quite far enough up to be like Mediterranean area, but it does come up and apparently attached to the bottom of all of those. Cool.
So yeah,
I mean, sure.
Atlantis is
Why
real.
not?
We're good, right?
Good.
Why hasn't it been found?
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, I know I'm skipping ahead, but I mean, that's,
Well,
it's lost for a reason.
The one thing is the guys that found that body underneath the body of land underneath France and Italy, they only found it last year. Why it take so long before they could find that?
Well, apparently it takes a lot of time to find bodies of land underwater.
They had
There you go.
bigger fish to fry.
Is it?
No one was really on that one. Like, world hunger, find Atlantis.
I would listen.
Just go ahead and bump that
Could
one.
you imagine? Could you imagine being like a part of a group that has to like seek funding for something like this? Yeah. So I got a proposition. We're gonna get on a ship. I got a submarine, and we're gonna find Atlantis.
Yeah.
They're like, yeah, we've seen that movie. We're
Yeah,
good.
it's the plot. It's literally the
We're
plot
good.
of the movie, the
no.
animated film.
Yeah, it's like we're good. Thanks, appreciate it. Okay.
But
Change my mind.
50-50
I-
partners.
We just want to find land under the ocean. And they'll go, isn't there land under the ocean? They go, yes, but this land was above the ocean at one point.
Boom.
Like, what are we going to do when
There
we
it is.
find said land?
I don't know.
That-
That's it. We've proved it.
We've
though.
solved.
We've
That's for
proved
the
that
vote. That's
land-
for the American people to decide.
We're going to post your company's name in a syndication. Yes. That's for the what?
No,
It's for the American people to decide. We'll vote on it.
Exactly.
Do we blow up Antarctica?
We can't find a crash plane in the
Nuke
Indian
the
Ocean, but
poles?
somehow we're going to find Atlantis.
Right. No, there it is. See? You know how many planes we haven't
Well,
found?
I mean, countries are easier to find than planes in the ocean.
well,
Right?
depends on how
Uh,
far it sunk.
We
What?
don't even know how big it was. We're going
We-
off of a book that was written 400 years
Plato
before
told
Christ.
us himself.
Plato.
Plato
He
said.
He
Plato
said
said it was like a huge. It was basically
the size,
Turkey.
the size of Libya and Turkey combined.
Yeah. I mean, if I got a globe out, I'm sure I can find Turkey on it. What I can't find is a to scale plane on that same Earth. I wouldn't be able to find that. You could give me forever. Wouldn't.
So
It'd be like the size of like an atom.
yeah. Well, how far? We can only go down so far.
Oh,
The
they
bottom
keep
of the
doing it.
ocean.
No, they keep going
They're
deeper
pushing it
each and
further?
every year. Yeah.
Eventually, they're gonna get down there and they're gonna find them kajus. And be all bad.
Have you seen some dude? They're gonna be
All bad.
ugly. Have you seen the fish they find down that deep?
Yeah. It
Like they ain't coming.
Horrifying.
They ain't coming out looking like Godzilla with lights on their back and eyes. They ain't. Nah. They're coming out wholly like a Swiss piece of cheese, like 15 pounds. They're gonna be no way,
Dude, they're
No
gonna
way.
get so far down there that they're gonna see a health bar appear at the bottom. And then they're gonna
and
be
then
like,
they know it. That's
yeah,
a wrap.
Yeah.
We're done.
They hear the music.
Game
It's
over.
like, all right, well, pack it up.
Yep,
Let's
we're
leave.
out. We're out.
And they're gonna try to
We're
run
fine
away,
with
and there's gonna be a fog wall, and they're like, okay, well,
Now we're dead.
now we gotta.
Now we're dead.
Now we're dead.
Hopefully, you guys are equipped. So a couple right where Plato says it was. Apparently, some ships really can't sail through that area because of some increasing of mud pockets, and so if ship hits it, it gets stuck. So ships don't sail through that particular area, and some scientists state that could denote that a large body of land went down and turned, pressing up the soft soil and creating these mud pockets. So again, I don't know the science behind it, but this guy sounded pretty legit when he said.
What's the thing they do? I mean, we've seen it down in Vallejo where they go through and they have to clean out
Dredging.
So it is possible. I mean,
Yeah.
Mediterranean doesn't necessarily have tides, so it doesn't function in the same way. But I would assume even like a lake, something that doesn't have tides, still has where soot and the stuff on the bottom of the ocean moves around, right?
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, in theory, I think even on top of land, we see it with like the dump, right? They just layer things on top of each other, and so eventually, I mean, if this is something that happened, forever ago, yeah, it'd be possible for things to be on top of it, and it'd be impossible for us to get to without some insane, piece of technology or something to do it. But I don't know.
A little far fetched.
Yeah.
No, these people reach. I mean, I get it. I love the idea of. I would love to know that it's real. That would be legit. This other guy wrote something about, I guess, a few years back, some cave drawings were found near France and Spain. That these scientists believe they are dated back over 10,000 years, and that the people in the area were far from advanced enough to be creating these particular paintings and the stuff that was used for the painting. There were everything was depicted, from hunting scenes to group activities to even details of the season, and fairly intricate. The one thing that it said is that the paint that was used, the pigments were made from minerals and had preservatives in them, as if to withstand time. So these particular cave drawings that they found in France and Spain depict in a little bit more of advanced society than what we believe would have been 10,000 plus years ago. So, and they have found in South America murals of flying things. I don't want to call them UFOs. I know we're not doing an alien episode, which I will happily bring up.
Yeah, of course you will. Like, regardless if we're talking about Jack the Ripper, and you're like, yo, but I heard aliens came down, and that's why that dude was butchered.
Yeah, Mr. Gray is crazy.
Cody's
man.
over here like rolling his eyes because he knows. He's like, this is the most ridiculous topic, and we move on.
It hurts me. It really does.
Aliens?
That
Aliens
aliens
hurt
have to
you?
end up on a...
It's not that aliens hurt me.
Bro, you never have how many planets are in the sky that we
Oh,
see?
It's
God.
just that every conversation ends up here.
It's every talking point.
It's every talking point.
Like, yeah, well, we're like the only humans here. That's pretty crazy, bro. There's
That's
probably aliens,
crazy,
dude.
bro.
I get it.
Ah, whatever.
Well, there's always a tie back, right? I mean, the idea that Atlantis was created by Poseidon. Was Poseidon really a god, or was he just an alien that had advanced technology?
Now you're thinking. That's
Right?
good. That's good.
That's a good tie there.
Yeah.
Like,
No, I know. But you have Poseidon, you have aliens. Which one's more plausible? I'm just saying.
Poseidon.
Ah.
Yeah.
At least it can
Not-
tie back
not-
to a
I'm done with
person.
Not that he's a god, but that I think that maybe have been revered like a god.
Or at least the character can be based off of somebody.
Correct. He had a name.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm done with you two. Absolutely done. So back to these paintings. So they found these cave paintings, and again they depict a society. There's been these paintings dated again 15, 20,000 plus years.
Did you already
found in South
describe what the
America.
paintings look like? I'm sorry. Did you already describe
Yeah,
what they
like there was like planets. There was these activities that were taking
Oh.
place. Hunting scenes of some sort.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah.
Gotcha.
Sure, it could have been cavemen. But that's why they talked about the pigments that were made from minerals. Like
The pigment?
Like the pigment.
Oh,
the
yeah.
painting colors.
I was
made
talking about
so
the
they-
pigmen from Minecraft.
Yeah.
I was like, the pigmen. Yeah, now we can get into some Minecraft lore.
Here we
Ever been to the Nether? Okay, let's get into it. No,
Anyway, what were you going to say?
Not that I'm like skimming through like some of the funnest myths regarding Atlantis, and one of them is that it was an extraterrestrial connection.
of course it is.
Of course, that they believe it to be a colonization of aliens coming to planet Earth and living here,
Yeah.
and that it proved to be not successful because they got to be too powerful and ultimately caused like a body of land to sink.
They're like, you know what? Just shut it down.
They sunk their base.
Yeah,
You know,
Just put it in.
they like.
and that Elon
They hit the
Musk was
self-destruct button?
Yeah.
their governor, and he was left here to help those that got stranded get back to Mars.
Dude, if anybody's an alien, that dude is. I'm just
Yeah.
saying.
There's a whole conspiracy there too for that. Have you seen the whole book that was written in the 50s that talked about the first civilization being on Mars, having a governor, and that governor title will be called an Elon? It's fantastic. I was like,
see,
I love
I
the
told
internet.
you guys. I'm telling you, it's gonna happen. And
He's
you're gonna
like,
be
I'm so
"Dang it,
glad he
Aaron
spit in
was
my
right."
face.
Like, I'm telling you, dude, our stock's going to be worth at least 2 spits in the face for next year.
They're going to take a DNA test, and he's going to have alien DNA in him.
Oh,
All right.
You
I'm done with the
should
alien
know.
topics.
yeah,
Let's,
we're going off the deep end here.
So those dudes writing cartoons 10,000 years ago.
Yeah,
And then
that's it. That's it.
So what does that
there
prove?
was
That just
also-
proves that they had these cartoons on a wall and they were written with a certain kind of pigment that
And they
allowed
had-
them to last forever.
Well, of course, it's not
Preservative.
It's not a solid evidence.
like jam.
Like
Yeah.
jam.
Oh my god.
But basically the point is
I actually
that,
prefer preserved
oh,
jam than like regular like jelly. You guys know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah, I prefer
Yeah.
that 10 times over like anybody's like grape jelly. Raspberry preserves, oh, money. If you're not putting that on your PB&Js, people, this is just consider this a PSA. Like, go get some preserve.
this is what happens when you
Raspberry-
stay up till like 4 a.m.
Yeah.
playing
when-
video
yeah,
games.
when you're running on an
I'm-
hour and a half sleep,
I'm
and you've
extremely
worked all
tired.
day, and yes, yeah. You're
My
done.
eyes feel like they're sunken in.
Yeah.
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 We should have Cody like not get sleep for 2 days before we record from now on.
Oh, this is fantastic.
Yeah.
But anyways,
We just went
but
from
what's the point of
Atlantis
that?
to
The point of that
PB&J
is
using preserves. That's great.
It's
the
really
point
good.
of that
That's
is to prove like a historical like it's in history. It was drawings on the walls that somehow they have a representation of Atlantis drawn on the wall.
Right.
How do we?
And they don't, I mean, and I guess the only other part that didn't
Try to
make
make sense.
Yeah,
I'm
you gotta-
trying to make
yeah,
sense
go
of
ahead.
it.
I'm trying to make sense of it.
Yeah.
Listen, but the one thing about the pigments and the colors they were using, that was the one thing that they said was 10,000 plus years ago, people would have been using more of like they said vegetable type thing, where like ground up vegetables and stuff to make the colors on the walls, where this was a mineral, meaning it was ground down. And then
Right. So like 10 years ago, somebody that wanted to just went in there and painted some stuff on the wall. It was great.
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, this will make it look old.
The kids in there are like, I don't want to eat my vegetables. I'm going to ground up my vegetables and go draw stuff. That's what the kids in the day were back in the day.
Back in the
doing.
day?
Like, I don't want to eat my celery, Mom. I'm going to go draw with it. And they're going to all over the wall.
The sound effects too. Like, you got that? Man. He's a one-man walking show today.
Yeah.
This is so rough.
This is rough. Very rough. Hey, but listen, so they did see some depictions of like half human, half animals depicted.
Yeah.
The person wrote.
Like a minotaur?
No, that's what. So
Are
they,
we talking-
they went into it specifically, like, you know, not in
chicken
comparisons of like
swordfish.
Greek or the Egyptians, because the Egyptians had their like godlike type characters.
Yeah,
you know.
Anubis, right?
Right.
Or it was
And-
like the dog head looking.
yes, the jackal or
Jackal,
whatever.
yeah.
Correct. So they said not like Greek mythology, like the minotaurs and things like that. Like it was more like people living within society that
Like
looked
genetically?
they were depictions of half human, half people.
You give
I know
me
that,
examples
like
of these combos.
I tried to find pictures of it.
Like Sweet Tooth?
Yes.
Like Sweet Tooth, it's the boy that has deer antlers.
Yeah.
And like,
Like they
he's
look
a
like
he's a
people, but they
human,
had
but he
animal
had like
features. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Oh,
So we're talking about like animal human hybrids.
Yeah.
We're probably gonna have a topic on that at one point down in the future, but okay. So their technology is advanced enough to allow or create, if we're interpreting this correctly, this kind of
Right. And again, this is somewhere over in Spain and France. Back to Pluto, remember, so Pluto's saying that, you know, these people Plato. What did I say? Pluto? Oh,
The planet.
dog? Yeah.
Pluto's a dog.
Plato. So Plato stated that they were basically growing too technologically advanced, too powerful, and that ended up becoming them again. He attributed it to the gods shutting them down. But here we are, if this, you know, race of people were creating human hybrids and all this other stuff, then maybe that's where he's kind of getting into the you know, too big for their own britches type. You know,
Playing God.
They were
Yeah.
like, Neptune was like, that's OP.
I gotta
And then
shut you
Nerf.
down.
Nerf. And then he
He
brought
does.
balance to the force.
He did.
He removed it from the game.
Exiles your Atlantis.
Nuke all.
Nuke all. So the one thing that a lot of people are saying that they believe Plato got this story from, kind of like when Cody was we were talking about these horror flicks, right, where they're partially true.
Yep.
So here's the one. They said that a Minoan city dating back to 1400 BC had also sank in the Aegean Sea. And so this is well before Plato's time. And this basically island city sank due to, I believe, a volcano. I did. Let this guy on today. He's out of control. Everybody's going to be like, we promise you, he's just tired.
It reminds me of that episode of
uh,
Friends. I don't know if you guys watch Friends, but like Chandler's
Used to,
like
yeah.
interviewing for a job and he's trying to like not make jokes. And the guy's like, you already got the job. You can relax. He's like, oh, good. Because I almost lost it when you said duty. And the guy goes, duty? And he's, no, the interview was over.
No,
I'm sorry.
no.
No. Yeah. So that's what that moment reminded me of. Anyways,
Yes.
moving on again.
So this Minoan city actually did sink, records of it and things like that. So they think Plato may have been taking this particular story and then kind of talking about, you know, this will basically using it as an example of what would happen to powerful societies through his storytelling. And so that's where, you know,
I can see it. I mean,
People-
with Plato. So in college, we did a lot in philosophy with Plato, right? He's in a lot of the philosophy, but he was a historian as well, right? So I can understand him back then. This is, I mean, so long ago. There's probably history that predates this stuff that we have never seen, stuff
Right.
that never ever made it into, other than Plato's writings, things that we like. It may have been depicted in a way that he was able to translate as the specialist in his field at the time. So you're right. He may have seen this story and there may have been history of this story and kind of written in a certain way. and he depicted it the way he depicted it based on what he interpreted from that story. I don't know, but volcano makes sense, right? So volcanoes are based on those tunnels that go all the way down to the magma core, and there's gas chambers, and as a volcano explodes, land around shifts and falls, and fall, caves that had magma or lava or expansion can compress. So I can completely understand land going underneath because of something like that. So to me, the argument that they found body land mass underneath Italy and Rome, I mean, there's volcanoes there, Pompeii, all that's there too. So it's very possible for that stuff to happen and those kinds of shifts to happen because of that. So that makes more sense than anything, is that he has spun this story.
Yeah.
And based on an interpretation of what he thought.
Not necessarily to be a storyteller. Again, what a lot of historians are saying is he was creating a story to use for people, for these societies that are ever growing, right? Like the Greeks were, advanced and they were coming up. And so he basically depicts it like a parable in a sense, right? Like, and that's what they believe really was the story of Atlantis. Everything from the gods, vengeance, and everything like that. So,
right.
It's possible. And maybe City of Atlantis is really this Minoan city that sank in the Mediterranean. The Aegean Sea. But the coolest thing about Atlantis is the mythical thing behind it. Everything from Disney movies, which Cody talked about, so don't watch the second one.
Yeah.
Clearly not. One of my favorite movies with The Rock, Journey to I think it's
so you're talking about the center of the earth.
There's Center of the Earth, but it's the second one.
It's the second one where
it's Jules Verne. Jules Verne wrote about Atlantis.
Yeah. The first one was 1,000 Leagues Under the Sea, right?
Jules Verne's first book.
No, I mean that movie. The first movie was
the first one was called The Center of the Earth.
Oh, Journey to the Center of the Earth. Yeah.
And the other one was Journey to the Lost Island.
Yeah.
So
I love those movies. I think they're great.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I'm gonna drop one on you. Cocoon. You guys ever heard of it?
I have. I don't think I've ever watched it.
Had to throw Cocoon in. So Cocoon is about some aliens.
There it is.
Sensational.
Should have known.
And their like refuge is Atlantis, right? So, and they've got all these healing properties and stuff. Great movie. Old 1980s movie. You should check it out. And then we have Aquaman. Aquaman is the Atlantean of all. So I don't know. I think Plato was just writing stories. Atlantis could or could not be out there. Who knows? But
I make the argument, why haven't we found it yet? And I cut you off there. I say, why haven't we found it yet? But in my mind, I'm thinking what Plato wrote it in like 348 BC. So we'll never find it.
No.
We have a better chance of finding Noah's Ark.
And he said that it sank around 9600 BC. Ooh. So even further back.
Yeah, what did you just walk down to his library and go, "Oh, let me"?
No. Okay, so here's what my argument was. My argument was we've been watching a lot of these Viking shows, right?
Yeah.
And I know history because you study it in high school, you study it again in college, and you go through these things. And I could tell you at the time when you're 16 to 19 or 20, you don't care as much unless you're like trying to be a history teacher. You just don't care about that stuff. But now I'm like super intrigued about the Vikings. I'm super intrigued about Wessex and all those. One of the pieces that I love from the show is they show the Roman Empire had fallen before all this. And I'm like, dude, the Roman Empire was legit. And it was before all of this.
Yeah.
All the Vikings and before England and all that was kind of established. And one of the pieces is they don't know how to translate the text or the history of the Roman Empire. And it's specialists like the monks and the people, the priests that know Latin that are able to read and translate this into their language. So Plato probably being one of those individuals that had he was incredibly intelligent, probably had a plethora of languages that he understood and can interpret, looking at paintings on a wall, and he is trying his best to interpret it. Now, keep in mind, he's interpreting into what his belief system is, right? He's looking at through his lens of his gods. He's looking at it. Yeah. He's looking at the descriptions of these things and seeing them as vast and large and grand, but there's no true definition of how big this city was, right? And if it's 9600 BC, he's looking at like stuff that probably no one in their right mind would be able to translate. And there's a reason why we can't see anything further back than Plato, is because I think in our world, in our today, is he's the only one that probably could have come up with the theory of what it is. So I agree with you. I think there probably was something to it.
Yeah.
I think there probably was a city, or there was a myth or a legend, right? Kind of like we talk about myths and legends and the dragons, right?
Yeah.
There's probably something. And because his interpretation of it, or how he translated it and kind of try to fit that in, I think over time it's become what it is. And again, because it's never been found, that's why the myth grows the way it does, right? If people saw Loch Ness tomorrow, or Sasquatch walked out and like gave us a high five, the mystery would technically be over. There'd probably be this craze for a little bit, but the fun and the mystery of trying to find those individuals or those things would cease to exist. And so I think that the popularity and the fun of what Lost City of Atlantis is the fact that we can't find it. The fact that it's not there.
Yeah. I mean, because once we find it, but if it's as advanced as it was, is it more advanced than we are today?
Well, probably not.
You know? I mean,
probably not. I mean, we depicted in movies as flying around on these spaceship sparrows, and we've got these really cool weapons, and they're wearing gold armor, and the city's made of gold. But I mean, is it really?
I don't know.
I think in the mythical lore, when they start talking about like the gods, that was kind of how it was envisioned, but that's not how Plato drew it. He just talked about it being a highly sophisticated.
That's how these geologists get their funding. They talk about the gold plating.
Right.
And
the coins. If we can find the coins, it will pay for the trip.
Yeah.
I promise you. I would love to sit in a room with someone that's pitching the idea of Atlantis.
To actual investors?
I would love it. I would love it.
We got this.
Because there are people out there that are pay for these things.
There are people that have ridiculous amounts of money, and they're like, you know what? I'll pay to see it. It's like these people that flip 20 to see the next card in a gambling thing. These people are like, 100 mil, I'm good. Let's see what you got. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's awesome. But no, I think it's always a really cool story to hear.
Yeah.
A lot of things would be fun. I wish there would be another. I think my favorite one, it's not quite the same, but kind of plays into it, is Bioshock, where they kind of take the mystery of the lost city. It's not really Atlantis, but they kind of play off that idea that society gets so technologically advanced, and this dude is so wealthy that he creates a city that gets sunk underwater. And then only that till later on, creating a sequel to the game where now it's in the sky and it's in the clouds. I love the play of that. I love that we can take that story and manipulate it and make it into something feel a little bit more plausible in a sense. Like if you had endless amounts of money and all the resources in the world, could you do it? For instance, I know Microsoft is like developing an underwater data center that is hydro powered, meaning that the currents and the tides that come through are what power the entire system. That type of technology exists. And so, is it living in its own little bubble underneath the earth? I don't believe so. I think if it did sink or go under, it's probably a fraction of the size of what we think it is. It was probably a pretty civilized, when I say civilized or technologically advanced society, I think of Roman Empire in comparison to like the Vikings or England, because they were before them, but yet they were building colosseums and they were building like these like grand cathedrals, and then their military and the gear they wore was all so advanced for their time that when they got wiped away by barbarians, in the theory is that they kind of got reset again. So I think it's easy for the idea that there wasn't a more technologically or sophisticated town or city. I believe it could exist if it got wiped out or something like that. Who knows? Is the Lost City of Atlantis real? I don't think so. I think that, if I'm being honest, I think I believe more the idea that it was just this small little town that sunk because of a volcano or some kind of underwater eruption or whatever. That's where I'm leaning. Cody.
Yeah.
Is
He's like,
Atlantis real?
Raspberry preserves.
Real. What is real?
Is it plausible?
Is it plausible that there was
Could
a country-sized city
well
that was there?
Details. Could the base idea of Atlantis be plausible? Could there be a city, regardless of its size, that sunk underneath the water, regardless if you believe it was done by the gods or if it was just done by a natural occurrence of a volcano or settling in the earth, who knows? Do you believe that the lost city of Atlantis exists?
Do I believe that city just chilling there, just all of a sudden just goes into the water like that? And probably not. I mean, over like 5,000 years, yeah, maybe water.
I mean, there's nothing saying that that's not how it happened. I know the argument is that it happened like that and they just sunk, right?
Yeah.
But, you know.
And maybe that's the moral of the story. They were so consumed with their own intelligence that they could not see the surrounding water enveloping, and thus they were consumed by it. And maybe that's the moral of the story.
And became mermaids.
Did we just put mermaids in there?
Yeah, they became mermaids.
Oh.
Mermen.
Mermen.
Merthe.
Merthe.
Merfolk.
Oh, boy. Now we're into merfolk.
Okay.
You know, I'm going to lean on the fact that the Minoan city was the true backbone of Plato's story, and that Plato was really just trying to convey, you know, this message of advancing too much and narcissism and power, and he builds it upon the story of, and so that people can understand it, right? I mean,
I saw this too, that basically he created this ideology of what this vision of a civilization should look like, or what it could look like, in order for it to back up a lot of his philosophies, right?
Yeah.
The idea that they got too big for their britches and stunk. The gods punished them for it. And so if you live by this framework, these things won't happen to you. This thing won't happen.
Yeah.
I honestly, that makes more sense to me he wants to do what's best for his people and his society. And he's teaching through fear, essentially. Right.
But again, because quite potentially the backbone of that story is the Minoan city that did actually sink. And so he takes it and he envelops it, and now
he creepypastas it.
He does.
He creepypastas it. He totally takes it. He puts a hairline of truth into it.
Yep, and spins it all out.
And then spins it all out of control. Yeah.
Get people pumped.
Yeah. No, I feel you. I think that's it.
There it is.
Yeah.
So, anyways, hey, Twisted World fam, we love you. We got a lot of great episodes coming your way. So, stay tuned. We'll have them at you. We love you as always. We're out.
Peace out.
Yeah.